I'm not one to say shut up and dribble. He needs to shut up and dribble. If you want to be Captain America, if you want to bask yourself in the flag, bathe yourself in the flag, and have you and your dad come out and do social media and podcast damage control when you get called out, then you better have delivered. And unfortunately for him, he's been on the pitch or part of the leadership council as this program has disgraced itself repeatedly, like that loss to T or the lack of a result at TNT to go through to a World Cup. Like all the drama and ridiculousness that went on between Gio Reyna and Berhalter. And like, am I blaming him for that? No, but like he's the de facto team captain at that time, and he certainly wasn't much a part of putting the fabric of that team back together, because things only disintegrated from that World Cup until they finally got rid of Berhalter. He is somebody who, because he was overempowered with Berhalter to the point where he felt like, hey, even with this next coach who's a real coach, I'll show up when I want to show up. Like, he came out and wanted Berhalter back. Why? Because he could walk all over him. Like, what is his greatest moment on the pitch? Like, scoring a lot of goals in friendlies when he first burst on the scene. Like, that was awesome. But his form for the U.S. team has not matched his form for his club teams. If you want to say he needs better talent around him, I would say I was the one who was told this was a golden generation and the greatest talent, young talent, the U.S. national team has ever had, all at its mercy or at its request at once. The interpersonal stuff hasn't worked. The leadership hasn't worked. He has lashed out and been petulant too much on the pitch. The idea that he can demand to take any set piece he wants while he's been largely garbage with it in a U.S. jersey blows my mind. The fact that anybody, especially after now having his coach have to call him out in the international press, that he would ever wear an armband for this team blows my mind. He should have his ass sat. The next time he wants to play for this team, he should be told, no, go stay. Go stay in Italy. Do whatever you want to do. We don't need you right now. And yeah, the state of this program that I've been following this team since like probably 1981, back when no one cared about U.S. soccer, back when no games were on TV, back when Nike wasn't even a sponsor yet, because, I mean, Nike was in its infancy, back when they weren't making any money, back when they couldn't beat teams like the Netherlands Antilles at home in World Cup qualifiers in St. Louis in 1982. Like, this is the most ashamed I've ever been of them, because they went from the little engine that did more with less, that knew their limitations, but set out to have a sort of communal spirit that could rise above, to a bunch of brats, to a bunch of overpaid brats. And I'm not, you know me, Ben, I'm not like the old man, get off my lawn. I'm really like not a dinosaur. I'm a pretty progressive thinker. I try to relate to young people. I'm not one of these who's like all millennials suck. Beltway Ben's a perfect example of that. But like this group collectively was allowed to rot and fester under U.S. Soccer's guidance, under Greg Berhalter's guidance, and now even any semblance of tough love is met with even more petulance. So I don't have high hopes for them in this tournament. I think they'll probably struggle with TNT more than they should today or tonight. And it's just a shame that people over there have let profits and have let greed and have let cronyism and nepotism and the cover your ass mentality of any poison bureaucracy just absolutely infect and destroy the fabric of this program. And they're going to get their asses kicked next summer. I will be fading them in the World Cup. It's going to be an international embarrassment. On a logistical scale, I think on a geopolitical scale and on an international soccer scale, I am prepared for utter and complete failure, because that's who U.S. soccer is.
There you go. Yeah, like I said, I don't follow it much. I have followed it with the way Jason, talks about it. And again, Berhalter getting fired, somebody who doesn't follow it as much, I thought, all right, maybe things will change. But it seems like,
well, they waited 6 years. He never should have been hired, and then they waited at least 2.5 years too long to fire him. So, yeah, it's sad. It's sad. But let's hope. Let's hope they can score 2 goals. They'll probably concede 1 to TNT. Let's hope Tillman plays a lot of that match, because he does have some class. Let's hope that coach tells them go to hell with you cramming these MLS players down my throat. Let's hope.